discipline toward what? And I think when I think about what I notice for young parents that's really hard is the kind of Rousseauian, Jean-Jacques Rousseau romantic idea that inside the child is this beautiful, free, expressive self, and that we just need to open space, for the child's expressive self to emerge. And when you follow that logic, you get self-centered little tyrants, right? Because we're born into sin and brokenness and disorderedness, and our children desperately need us to order their attention and their control of their bodies into harmony with the world. That is not cruel. That is not mean. That is not oppressive. It is desperately needed. It's actually how you love your child. It's why Scripture says, the man who hates his child, who does not discipline his child. That we love our children and we want them to grow into habits of being that bring them into harmony with the world. And that's for their own good. But you're right. The other side of it is when discipline itself becomes a kind of perfectionism, a kind of rigidity or a goal in and of itself. And that's why I like to think of disciplines according to like habits or routines or the habituation, rather than some kind of like perfection of behavior that becomes kind of tyrannical. It's what is the ordinary normal habit of the self that I'm aiming toward, right? Not a perfectionism. And if you think about this in sports, you can understand how perfectionism, you want to, I don't know, in tennis is your sport, Gray, but I'm just thinking like baseball. No one's going to bat, is it 1,000 or 100? Y'all, I'm showing my ignorance here. 1,000, right? If you try to aim for that goal, you're going to destroy yourself by aiming for that, which is impossible. What you try to aim for is a general habit of hitting well, right? And so I think that shifting from a perfectionism and a rigidity or a discipline for its own sake toward an understanding that it's habituation toward a higher goal helps bring those two dynamics into harmony, right? And I love, Jordan, how you brought up the male-female, actually. Like, I do think that there's something about the poetic nature of the feminine. Like, the feminine is more related to the actualization of potential, toward embodiment, toward glory. And so I do think that the mother plays a more important and prominent role within these early years of pointing to beauty, embodiment, wonder, shepherding the child into those things. And then as the child grows up more and more, I perceive that the fatherly role, and again, kind of like you said, Jordan, like, I'm just here to say yes and to, orient your attention to what Annie's saying. In the young years, that's a lot of what the father does, is just back up the mom as the mother through her. There's just a kind of magic to motherhood, a kind of magic that comes from the embodied feminine that invites children into the wonder and the beauty and the nurture of being. But then as they progress, they will need the stability, the challenge of the father more and more as they move into higher levels of education. So I thought, Jordan, it was worth pointing out that you kind of hinted at that the gender dynamic, which is part of, I think, the dance of especially early education. I'm right now working with these high schoolers, desperate to have some kind of other male teacher with me, because these young teenage boys do not respond to me the way that they would respond to you, Jordan. And it's really challenging.
So let me throw a few things in there. One is,